I would like to turn the time over to our panelists. We'll have them come up and take their seats and introduce themselves.
I am Cindy Millsap. I have been homeschooling for 20 years now. I went through the public school system as a child. I loved it, had a lot of fun, but decided to raise my own kids. Homeschooling, once I read Thomas Jefferson Education, that changed my whole perspective, and I was like, yes, this is what I want. Have raised my family in Texas, moved back here to Utah in 2021, and upon moving back, I had some teenage kids who were interested in doing sports at the high school, at Desert Hills High School, and so we looked into that, and so that's my primary. I'm answering questions primarily about how to do high school sports as a homeschooler. I now have 3 children that wrestle on the high school team, and I myself am now the girls wrestling head coach at Desert Hills High School. I also am a mentor at Fire Canyon Academy and have been doing that for 3 years now. Absolutely love it. So, and I have 6 kids.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Flaig, and I have 2 teenage boys. I've been homeschooling since 2019. We just decided it was a good fit. It took me a while to find the Thomas Jefferson education kind of model. Before that, I had just read a book by John Gatto and just took my kids right out of school, just like that, because it just seemed so fitting and it just seemed so right to homeschool to me. So anyway, I am here tonight because I've been helping with the founding of Utah Military Academy in St. George. It's a hybrid school, so it's mostly online. The curriculum and everything is online, but we do JROTC and we do things like that. So if you have any questions about the military academy, they don't want to recruit people into the military. That's not their goal. They just want the kids to have a good education that practices the leadership qualities, and that's their goal with it. So if you guys have any questions about that, I'd be happy to help.
Yay. My name's Amy Bowler, and I have been homeschooling. Michelle and I were just saying our oldest are were born the same year in '92, so we've both been homeschooling forever, which I don't know, that's 28 years, however many years it is. What did you say?
Dinosaurs.
I know, yeah, since before it was like, that's such a thing. Anyway, so we have 7 kids and 10 grandkids, and we've homeschooled all the time, except for 1 year, 1 child went to school. So let's see, what they asked me to talk about was just the Commonwealth schools. We have been a part of that. We actually, my husband and I worked and trained for LEMI, if you've heard of LEMI, Leadership Education Mentoring Institute. So we worked for that company for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. We don't anymore, but I have a lot of knowledge about all those different projects that they offer and that philosophy, which is based on leadership education, which is Thomas Jefferson education. But basically the idea, and we've done it with our children since our very first turned 12 when we lived in Colorado, and my good friend actually started the company. She does live here in town, Tiffany Earle, and she was like, oh, you need to teach a project. And so I taught a very first project, Shakespeare, which was way out of my comfort zone. We had, I think, 6 in the class, and our little 8-year-old daughter had to participate because we needed another girl. There was only 1 girl. It's okay, it's Shakespeare. There's mostly boys anyway, so it worked fine. But anyway, so it's a whole, it's a leadership education is philosophy, but then Lemmy also is philosophy, but then they have created projects that go along with it and help to create a community and projects that the students can go through, and meets once a week. And anyway, we'll get into that.
Hi, I'm Michelle Osborne, and I actually homeschooled for 15 years, but when my youngest graduated in 2019, I couldn't leave the homeschool community. I just loved it. I had started a curriculum homeschool business back in 2013, and so I was very involved with the homeschool community, with families, I'd gotten a lot of friends that created curriculum, and now I have Homeschooling Successfully, where homeschooling teens successfully, and that's where I just want to help moms realize, dads are welcome too, but it's mostly moms, right? I can relate to the moms, can realize that they can homeschool through high school. I've seen so many families, they'd come to me and they'd say, how'd you do it? How'd you do high school? I don't know how your kids made it. How were they so well put together? All that. I'm like, okay, well, you don't know I'm at home, but anyway, so that's what got me started with homeschooling, helping moms homeschool high school. So my main goal is to help moms see that they can homeschool confidently and successfully all the way through graduation. So I create resources, I speak, I do one-on-one coaching. I have a membership for moms called Confidently Homeschooling Teens for Moms, a membership for moms. I do a summit online, which is coming up in June, just for homeschooling teens. So these are just people that are experts in homeschooling teens. And so I just try to do a lot of things to help moms. And like I said, dads are welcome too, but I gear just because that's where I think is a mom, right? So yeah, that's what I do, that's what I love doing. So I don't know if I'm gonna leave the homeschool community. I'm already a grandma. I'm not homeschooling anymore, but I just love it still, and I love helping. I guess I'm here more for how do you do it, like I think I was asked, remind me if this is something, but like transcripts and concurrent enrollment and grades and requirements and being to figure out credits and how do you get them to classes and creating courses they love, and that's the type of thing, and curriculum. So I'm going to be doing a curriculum fair online too in a few weeks. So that's where my strengths, I guess, as in the homeschool community is.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, at this point, we just kind of wanted to have a little vote about which questions you guys are most interested in having answered first. So if you're, you'll see it on your screen. Voting in progress. Okay, so to vote, you just push the plus sign, correct? So if you look on your phone, if you push the plus sign, then that will help us to know which questions the group is most interested in hearing the answers for. We'll probably get to all the questions tonight, but we just want to make sure that we get the ones that most people want answered first. So let's go ahead and vote then. Okay. So, oh, you did?
I might have. Were you able to? I'm not showing.
I was able to go,
Select a question,
but I couldn't submit it.
okay. Good to know.
Mine just says, what question would you like answered tonight, but it's not showing you the questions for you to vote on.
Okay. Maybe we won't do it next time.
Okay. Well, let's just start.
Trying it out.
Yeah, let's just start with question 1. Okay, so our first question is how to help a 12-year-old quirky, doesn't fit in, but wants to, boy, to find friends. Do any of you panelists have an answer for that
I
question?
had 3 of those.
Oh, good.
I think for me, just lots of love, right? Recognize that it's the awkward stage, and but help them. Like, I've had conversations with them, be like, okay, you are so stinking cool, but you kind of do some things that people might like be like, you're really strange. And so just so you know, as you do things, I'm going to let you know if that's kind of a good choice or not. So that you don't do things that are going to embarrass you or make people not want to be around you, right? Like, let's not shovel our food in. Let's, we don't need to just be walking down the hall and start roboting or, whatever it is. Like, these things are so fun at home with our family because that's our family culture, but there's times and places for certain things. Still be you, but we still need to learn how to be socially acceptable, I guess. And one thing on socializing, because a lot of people are like, oh, homeschoolers are weird, okay? I'm not gonna homeschool. That was my initial perspective. And then I came to realize, no, that's not true, because anybody can be weird, whatever, social circle or school or whatever. A lot depends on the parenting. If the parents are awkward, the kids are most likely going to be awkward, right? And so we still have so many social opportunities and opportunities to figure out what works with social cues and all that kind of stuff. It's not like we just sit at home and stare at each other all day. Little Mermaid, very boring, right? But anyway, so I could go on and on. But you have this talk with them of, I'm going to help you to be able to communicate well with people. And I love you, and that's so fun, but let's not do that in public. Or, right, we can do silly things at home, but there's times and places. But always lots of positives. You rock, kid. You're awesome. Yeah, we gotta help them not be awkward with the girls too. Hi, how are you? Yeah, okay. One of my daughters is experiencing that right now with the boy, but he's a public school boy, so it's not even a homeschool boy thing. It's just a natural, normal boy thing. Anybody else?
It is.
I have 5 boys also, and our youngest is 11, so I'm just right there. Gotcha. That is just the world. The burping and all this stuff. So one of my things that I think is a little bit different with homeschooling versus public schooling is that we need to be a little more proactive in helping our children to find friends and to facilitate that happening. And maybe that's by helping them find sports or to find other activities where they can interact with children. When we first started homeschooling, it was like crickets out there with the other homeschoolers because there weren't very many, but today they're everywhere. And so it's helping your child to find friends, and maybe it's in co-ops or commonwealth schools, or find a community of people that you can be with. But then also, maybe it's just in your neighborhood, making that happen. And maybe it's not in your neighborhood, but then you're driving them to find friends, which, yeah, that's hard. And sometimes it's like, I don't want to do that, but just remembering that it is important. But the other thing is that it's not as important as we're told that it is in the public school system. They don't need 6 to 8 hours a day every day of the weekday to be with friends. They really don't need that much social. They might think that they want that much, but they really don't. And I think that's just one of the messages that the public school system sends out, just because that's the nature of it. That's the form that's used. And so they've got to be like, this is great for them. And I think a lot of the children like the social part of it. So they don't need that much. They don't need that many hours. So that's just kind of my thought on that. And then I'll pass it to you.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, so I can say one other thing about it too. I kind of have the opposite problem where I have to push them to be out there in environments. So, I mean, that's how I ended up with the military academy environment. Is I just really encouraged them to, you know, go after what they're interested in. And I mean, my oldest is very military. He loves America. He loves the Constitution. He loves everything. So I went out and found the ROTC for him, and you know, we just got involved in different groups around, and that brought the social aspect in, and then from that point, there definitely was some, you know, maybe no burping in this environment. Maybe, you know, don't do this and that. But yeah, definitely encouraging them to like be themselves and be have their genius, and you know, find ways to support that you can. And we live in Hurricane, so we do drive to get friends. Definitely. I mean, there is the Hurricane community, but there's a lot going on that we can find that is just part of their joy. It brings them joy. So.
Okay, perfect.
There's just this small tool that I would love to share with you that I use still every day with my children. Anytime I find that they are doing something that I'm not super happy with, maybe it's an awkwardness, or maybe it's that they don't have friends, or maybe they're too loud, or maybe they're being disobedient, whatever it is that my child is doing that I'm not feeling happy about, I have a habit of every night I write in my journal one good thing that child has done that I've seen them do that day. I call it proof positive journal. And I've been doing it for I don't even know how many years, but write down, not just like, oh, they're a good boy. Oh, they're a good, I just shared this with you the other day. They're a nice girl. Like really positive, like he said thank you after lunch. Or it could be something specific if you're specifically concerned about the social or like the awkwardness. It could be like, he had a friend over, and when the friend left, he said goodbye. Sometimes when you have children who are more shy or maybe more awkward, they play together great for an hour and a half. Like a positive thing that you noticed, and just the act of you noticing it and then writing it down, it will help you to see more of the positive that they are actually doing. They may still be awkward, but I guarantee you they have positive things that they're doing, and as you take the time to notice those things and write them down, you'll see it's like more things come about. And I think some of it is because we're looking for that good, and so we're going to see that good, and they're going to feel from us that we're expecting them to do more good, and it just becomes this upward spiral, and it's really, really cool.
Sorry, I had another one too. I was just thinking, kind of going along, piggybacking about like the communities. One of the things I love about our homeschooling community is that you are surrounded by a bunch of other moms who care about your child, right? And who will help them with some, I mean, at least I do. Like, I look at them all, I'm like, you're my kid right now. And if you're chomping your gum and or, you know, putting it on the table, like, I'm gonna mom you at the moment and teach you what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, all those kinds of things. And so having a community is a great thing, but also they have to have friends. They don't have to have friends. Like, gratefully, we've got lots of siblings, right? My kids have their best friends are right there with them. And from what I've learned growing up, yeah, I had friends in school and it was a blast, but am I friends with them now? Like, my best friends are my family. And so we really try to emphasize, yes, it's fun to go do things, but just remember, these relationships are the ones that really, really matter. In fact, a recent conversation with a couple of my kids at different times, you know, trying to find friends that really influence them to be their best selves, and you know, struggles with that, and it comes back to, okay, then hang out with this sibling or this sibling. If you can't find what you're looking for, you've got it right here, and this is the one that you're always going to be with forever, Like, so, and also adults can be great friends. I mean, not hangout friends, but you can have really meaningful conversations and relationships with other families and adults. It doesn't, our society kind of makes you think that you have to be friends with only people your age. And that's not true. When my oldest son was just a little guy, and he was kind of hearing from other people that he should be concerned about having friends. And he's like, Mom, Grandma Carol and Uncle so-and-so, who weren't really grandma and uncle, but we were in Texas, not by family, and everybody became our grandmas and uncles and grandpas, right? They're like, they're my best friends. Is that okay? I'm like, absolutely. So helping them see friendship as what it really should be and not as it's portrayed like in television and so forth kind of thing. I don't know if that makes full sense.
Wonderful, thank you for those answers. Okay, is it a good idea for a young teen to take college classes, or is that too stressful for them? Does anyone want to answer this one?
We have all sorts of comments, I'm sure.
Let's start over here with Michelle.
My answer would be it depends on the child. It really does depend on the child. I am coaching a mom that she wants to start her daughter when she's a sophomore. She's a freshman right now and thinks that she can handle it, but she's doing Algebra 2 in 8th grade. So, I mean, she thinks she can do it. My kids didn't. I basically finished homeschooling them myself in 11th grade. And in 12th grade, they took all concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment, which would be college classes. So they all were able to, are you all familiar with what concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment is? So I was preparing them for college, whether they went or not. 3 of my 4 did. But it really does depend on the child, and it depends on scholarships too. Because if you're putting it in the transcript and they do really poorly in concurrent enrollment, it's going to really pull down their GPA, which will hurt an academic scholarship or a scholarship dependent on their grades. But if they do well, it makes that transcript just look amazing because they've done so well in college classes. It also helps the transcript when colleges look at it and they say, oh, Mom gave them all A's, maybe a few B's. How do we know it just wasn't Mom? Oh, look, college gave them A's and college gave them B's as well. They must really be what the homeschool mom says they are on the transcript. And then it boosts their GPA because college credits are worth more than high school credits. So to me, I thought it was more beneficial than anything, but I knew my kids could handle it. And I also saw it as I taught them, homeschool, and then they did college classes, but they had me they could come to ask questions. They had the college right there that they could go to because most colleges provide, tutoring or whatever. And we could talk about it. We could see what they were doing well. We could see where they needed help. We could encourage them to get help wherever extra they needed for tutoring. So I felt like it was a step toward college without being in college yet. So I really thought it was beneficial in that way too. So once they went to college, they already knew what they were doing. They already felt secure. They already knew they could handle it. But if you have a child that struggles academically, I think about it. But that's my opinion.
That's so cool.
I know. I have opinions for everything.
Yeah, I have the same opinion though, that it depends on the child. If you work closely with them and they understand the responsibility of it and you understand the responsibility of it and you think that they're ready, then yeah, I think so. But yeah, I also think a lot of times people try to rush through their education. And I think if the main goal is that you just want to push them through that before they're ready, then you might want to take a step back and really evaluate like what it is, what your purpose for them taking the dual enrollment would be. If it's for them or if it's just, I think there's a lot of factors to it. So that's all.
I was just thinking also it depends on the child, and our society also is very gung-ho on everybody goes to college, which reality is how many people actually use their degrees, once they graduate and go off and work. And so, honestly, college is big money you pay it, but it's a big industry for those in the college world. They make a lot of money off of people going to college. And so I think understanding that college is not for everybody. There are so many options and resources available to every individual. And like, for example, my oldest daughter, she's never, she's a brilliant child, but she's never been one that wants to just go to college. She loves learning, but the college atmosphere and what college would get her is not really what she wants out of life. But she wants to continue learning all the time. And so we actually decided to help her receive a trade, to learn a trade before she's gone off. And her senior year, she decided, we had some classes that we created that she wanted to do. She really wanted to do philosophy. And she studied the works of C.S. Lewis and other people and so forth. Came up with some classes for what she was interested in. And then we had her go to cosmetology school. And she did that her senior year and then graduated with a trade, with a valuable skill that she could use if she needs to, but she also recognizes that doesn't mean she has to do hair for the rest of her life. She's learned a valuable skill, and now she can go learn whatever else she wants, because it's like we have this giant tool belt, right? And every opportunity we take for learning of any kind is just another tool in our tool belt. So now she's got these skills that she learned at hair school, not just cutting hair, but people skills. And so she's got that there. And then if she decides to take some classes at the college, she can just go take some classes. She doesn't necessarily have to work towards a degree or anything. But some people have had the opinion of, well, I did all this schooling and it was just for a waste. It was just a waste. When is it? Because you've learned something, haven't you? That knowledge could increase your capacity to do something else later on in life. So it really just depends on what your child wants, not what you want for your child, but what your child wants for their future, and you help them find the resources that they're looking for to become who they want to become, not what mom and dad want them to become.
I so echo and ditto all that everybody said. I love it so much. And just one more thing that I thought of, I think what you're saying, Cindy, about that we're looking at any time, whether you're deciding are they going to take this college class or this other curriculum here, or join this Commonwealth school and take a class here, or take a class at home with mom, or go to whatever it is, when you're making those decisions, we're looking at lots of different things. And the very first thing that I'm typically looking at is kind of the big picture is, what's my purpose? What is not me as a mom, what is my purpose in homeschooling them? What do I want them to accomplish, to achieve, to become by the time they leave my home? And kind of what you were saying, and what are those things, and what you were saying too, Michelle, and be really clear on that. Take some time and really examine that. And I think that's so important. And I think we get bogged down in all the other questions of the minutia of maybe this curriculum's good, or this class, or whatever. But in reality, start with that. Like, what is my purpose? Why have I been drawn to this? And specifically, I think it's sometimes different with each child. For this child, I feel like we're homeschooling for this. This is what this child needs. This is what this child needs. And then with any given opportunity, which hopefully a year at a time you're going to make these kinds of decisions, but kind of overarching. You're going to look at, okay, is this a course that is going to help them to, for me, it's them finding out what their genius is, and then gaining this sense of vision and mission of what they could do with their life, their place in the world, and then developing knowledge, skills, and abilities to be able to achieve that mission that they feel led to. And so with every class, I'm going to look at and say, okay, who is going to be mentoring this class? Are they going to be having a positive influence on my child? Sometimes college classes, if you're taking them at the local college, they might, if they're the lowest level class, they might be the worst professors in the college. Now that's not always true. My children have had experience taking classes at what used to be Dixie, and no, not Utah Tech yet, but Dixie previously. So it depends. Not every teacher, professor, mentor is the same. Who's teaching it? Who are the other children that they're going to be interacting with? Who are children or teenagers or young adults, if they're 12 or 13, going physically to a college situation? What is the caliber of students in that environment? Super, super important. Those two things, I think, are actually more important than what the actual content of the material is. But that is a factor, is are they inspired by that content? Do they want to learn that? Is it something that they're interested in? Is it something that's going to help them for the rest of their life? So those are some of the things that I'm going to be looking at with the overarching thing.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left. So I'm thinking there are 4 questions left. Maybe if each of you just want to choose one of those questions that you'd like to answer, and then if we have extra time following, you can, kind of add a little bit about that. But we'll go ahead. Michelle, can we go ahead and start with you?
Sure.
Do you want to pick one, and then we'll just move on down the line?
I don't know, I bet all of us could answer all of them.
You probably can. That's why I'm
So,
thinking, at some point,
Yeah.
we can let you all have a chance, but let's just start there so we can get all the questions answered.
I don't know here. Okay, so I am going to answer, or try to answer the one, what are the differences between homeschooling high school, middle school, and elementary school, since I have done all of them 4 times. I was thinking about it on the way here. In fact, as I was driving into the parking lot, I thought, what was easier? Was it easier homeschooling elementary school, or was it easier homeschooling high school? What's easier to parent? Is it easier to parent an elementary school child, or easier to parent a high school child? I think it really depends on the child, on the parent, and on the situation. And one of the sayings I say all the time is homeschooling is just parenting magnified. That is what homeschooling is. We are parenting all the time, and not only are we parenting, but we're educating academically as well as parenting. So they're all intertwined, and I'm sure if you've homeschooled for more than a year, you know that you can't separate the two. I tried, okay, I thought, okay, we're gonna start school. When I first started homeschooling with my kindergartner, okay, we're gonna take out the books, we're not doing anything else. It didn't last for very long. I even tried a timer, that didn't work. I tried everything, but the point is, I guess, is that it really depends. Every stage of parenting a child is different, and every stage of homeschooling is different. If I were to do it again with elementary school, I would have been more relaxed. I would have been way more relaxed. I would have done more field trips. I would have played more games, because actually studies show that children, I just saw it on Instagram, it's come through several times, that if you want to teach a child something, they really need it repetition, like almost 100 times. If you do a game with them with that same skill, they can do it in less than 20. So the games are what connects things, even for high schoolers, okay? So I would have done that, and I would have been, but I'm one of those type A parents, give me a task, tell me what I have to do, let me check off the boxes, let me get organized. So it's harder for me to just say, let's just have a fun day today. You know, how are we going to learn for fun? But so if you're still homeschooling elementary as well, I'd say relax, enjoy it, let them learn through games. There's so many games that teach so many things. Once you get to high school, yeah, you have more boxes to check off. And if they're going to go to college, because if they want to be a doctor, if they want to be a teacher, there's certain things, whether you like it or not, they're going to have to go to college if that's really what they want to do. But I think we talked about this a little bit, they don't have to. And I think COVID really flipped the college idea around. Okay, I would have recommended it in 2010. I wouldn't recommend it in 2025. I mean, like I said, it depends on what they need to go to school for. But so homeschooling middle school to me was preparing them for high school. Yeah, you're gonna have to be a little more serious. Yes, you are gonna have to do certain subjects, whether you like them or not. Yes, we are going to have to think about grades because I prepared my kids for college, and I think I still would now, even if they're not gonna go. Because like we said, there are so many things that they will learn. They will learn through these rigorous courses. They will learn about character. They will learn about doing a good job, even if they don't like it. There's so many things they will learn, so I prepared them for college. So middle school was kind of like, okay, yes, elementary school was a little bit more relaxed. Middle school, we're starting to get a little bit serious. And in high school, it was more of, okay, yes, you do need to do math. Yes, you do need algebra 2. Why? I will never need it. You're right, you probably won't. But, you know, it's gonna help you. You know, there's a process, and I would go through each thing with, depending on what class they said they didn't think they'd ever use. But they had to get more serious, and so did I. Okay, I gotta keep track of grades. I gotta know what the credits are. I gotta know what the requirements are. Should they take concurrent enrollment? Where are they gonna go to college? You know, all those things you have to think about. But you don't have to sit down with a 6-year-old and go, and spend 15 minutes on getting through one sentence, okay? One of my children were like that. So it's different, but it's parenting. Just think of it that way. I don't know, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but each step is different, but just like parenting, each step is different, and we just kind of grow into it as our child grows. Oh, sorry, you probably want to answer the next one. It looks like one of you wanted to answer
You get to
something.
go next.
Okay, so yeah, I want to answer what should I expect from my teenager? How can I allow them to make their own choices on time and education, but still keep them learning and growing? I think that is a great question, and I think that everybody. Can I use this whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what it's for.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna. I'm just gonna. Take it probably for the video. Okay. Okay, so there's this little chart that I like to use with this. So you've got.
Screen.
Oh man. Okay, like in 3 minutes. So what should I expect from my teenager? That you gotta be very prayerful, pondering, knowing what's right for them because they're all really different. Here's just a little chart that I use that helps me. So when our children are born, this is us as parents, and this is our children. And this is the responsibility or stewardship. So when they're babies, they are down here, they've got like 0, right? They can't do anything. And we as parents are 100%. But as they grow, then we are gradually having less and less stewardship, and they are having more and more. And so that is just the nature of parenting, and same thing with homeschooling. We're gonna be giving less and less of this is what you've gotta do, and we are gonna be expecting them more and more until at some point, and I'm not gonna tell you a number, because I know for my own family, it has been different with different children. But at some point, the children actually have a greater responsibility for their own life. Hopefully, you get up here to, I don't know, we could debate this for maybe an hour. Is it 90% when they're adults? Is it 100%? I hope they have full ownership for their life and I don't have any more ownership for their life. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be their friend, but it's their life. It's not my life anymore. So at some point, then the child is going to be up here with this 100% and I'm going to be down here with the 0. And I don't want to make this leap when they're 17 or 18 because that's too much for them to go from 0 to 100 or whatever this is, even from 50 to 100 in a short amount of time. And so my whole time that I'm parenting and homeschooling, I love that you said that, this whole time I am helping them to figure out, let's see, so it's managing my expectations. I actually like the word, so you've got expectations can sometimes lead to unmet expectations, which leads to disappointment as a parent. The word that I like to use instead is anticipation. And so we want to anticipate and have this vision that our children are going to be these amazing people. And they start out here as these amazing babies, but we want them to learn and grow and take ownership of their life, not take everything that we say they should do, but take their own ownership. And we are anticipating that they're going to take that. We're anticipating, hoping, wishing, praying, all of that they are going to take hold of it and they're going to make great choices. But we're also anticipating that they're going to make some mistakes along the way. We will, and we know that a lot of those mistakes and those falls are where they learn the very most. And so let's see if I answered the question. What should I expect from my teenager? How can I allow them to make their own choices on time and education, but still keep them learning and growing? So in leadership education and Thomas Jefferson education, there's different phases. And so in core phase, that's where we have the most expectations as a parent because they're down here at like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever that is. And we are teaching them how to work, how to really, in my perspective, believing in God, I'm teaching them how to love God and to follow God by following me. But teaching them right from wrong. Like what kind of we've talked about before, like, we don't hit people. Oh, we do this, we do that. That's the most important thing in core phase. And then as they get older, go to love of learning phase. The things that we're going to expect of the child are going to be, how are you going to use your time? What are you learning? What do you want to learn? So that's kind of that philosophy. And then by the time they're scholar phase, which is 12 to 14, when they begin, give or take a few years, it's more of them taking on ownership and wanting to do greater things with their time. So it's a really, really good question. I seriously could talk about it for an hour with you guys and go back and forth about what exactly you're concerned about them doing. But when they are 12 or 13, well, between 11 and 13, there's times, and they're transitioning to that scholar phase. I'll just put that word. If you see in the back, I brought a bunch of manuals for what we use for scholar phase projects in leadership education. So when they are at that beginning scholar phase, which we call practice scholar phase, there are many times when they are choosing out of wanting to be super productive on any given day. They're learning how to be scholars. They still want to play. That's okay. Go play today. We're not going to expect them at 12 or 13 to be performing at a college level every single day. They're going to sometimes go back and forth with that, and that's okay. So I would say, in general, what can you expect? Anticipate great things, but don't expect that they're going to be perfect. That was it. The thing I say to parents all the time, I wish I could go back and redo with my children that are grown now, and that I actually apologize to my grown children, is that we expected so much of them, so much to the point where it was like, this is impossible to achieve. We were expecting perfection and them to never make a mistake. And that's not realistic. So don't expect that. Give them grace, give them patience, Same thing with high school. What is it that you want? And let them make choices and then fail. Even if you're like, okay, that they make a choice, you're always weighing the risk. Obviously not make a choice, take a car when you don't have a license and go out, drink, not those kinds of things, not when you're talking about immorality, but when you're talking about make a choice as to what you want to study, how you want to use your time, let them have as much stewardship as you can, the very most you can give them, and let them fail. And be there with them, love them, talk about it. Oh man, dang. Such a bummer. I'm so sorry. How'd that feel? What happened? Talk about it. Learn from it together. They are going to learn so much more if they learn from their experiences than from you lecturing or not allowing them to ever try. Off we go to the next person.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there's 2 questions left. I don't have the most experience with scholarships or financial help, but I do know the Utah Military Academy side of it. Through them, they do have scholarships and financial help for teens that want to take college classes. So they do concurrent enrollment. And you can start, pretty early on it. Whenever your teen is ready, you can start with concurrent enrollment. But then afterwards, since you have gone through the Military Academy program, they have so many scholarships that you can get just from that. I can't remember what the founder of it tells me all the time about the amazing scholarships that you can get, but it's basically on level with the military academies that you would pay for in New York City, where they can get scholarships into Harvard or into these big huge universities, and it's because they've gone through that program with the JROTC and all of that. So I do know that there's that available in there.
And is it just something about the military academy? Is it a charter school?
Yeah.
Just explain.
So technically it's a charter school, but it's a hybrid charter school. So it's built for homeschool parents and homeschool students. So all of the requirements can be done online except for the ROTC portion, which is 1 to 2 days a week that they have to be there for a couple hours. Everything else is available online anytime you want. So they do have kind of like an open schoolhouse that you can go to and get the teachers' help at any time. So you can go to the building, you can sit there with your laptop and do all of your online requirements, or you can do it from home. So most of the time, I have my oldest son in Utah Military Academy and in Fire Canyon Academy. So he's doing a scholar project right now, which is, scholar projects are huge and they take a lot of brain power. And so for this week, he's just been meeting his requirements on his online for Utah Military Academy and then pushing to finish his scholar project. So it's great that it has that flexibility. So it is technically a charter school, so you don't have to, you don't have to pay. Yeah, there's no tuition going into it, and they do have all of the benefits of scholarships and, having the dual enrollment or the concurrent enrollment. So, yeah. Okay. As far as other options available, I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure you could contact the financial aid at Utah Tech.
Afterwards, I know time is important.
Yeah.
If someone has questions about it, I can talk about it.
Okay, awesome.
I'm gonna pick burnout. So I have 6 kids, and I had 6 kids ages 11 and under. When my youngest was born, my oldest was 11. And so burnout can be real. I remember one time laying on my toddler's bed, just like feeling sorry for myself, right? And I just had this quick moment, like this decision of, well, I was just like, buck up, Cindy. Like, you are so blessed. And one of my favorite books is called An Old-Fashioned Girl by Louisa May Alcott. And in it, it's a beautiful story, but there's one point where she is doing her best to be reliant, self-reliant, and not depend on others, and stick to her standards and do all that she's got to do. But she's got this moment of just, she's sinking emotionally. And she finds herself by pushing herself to get out of herself and go help others. And so in that moment, I was just like, get up and get to work. Like, you have all these beautiful little people that love and adore you, even if they'll yell and scream at you sometimes and not do what you are asking them to do. But these are your people, and just love them. Love where you're at. Like, find joy in all the things around you. And it's so much of a mental game. It really is. And I would be like, I'd be like, look at all these dishes in the sink. I am so blessed. I have dishes. I have food to feed my kids. I have running water in the house. Like, oh, these piles of laundry. I'm so grateful for all these hand-me-downs, like, that I can clothe all my kids, and it costs me hardly anything. And I'm so grateful for a washer and dryer, like all the things. And I'm so grateful for this poopy diaper, because one of my really good friends, her child couldn't poop. Like, as a baby, like, there was a disconnect here, and it was this whole thing, and it was so sad, and all these surgeries. And so just finding gratitude in all the little things and just playing with the learning has been so big for me. Like, find your inner geek and with your kids, and like, you be learning right with them. Like, okay, yeah, you're gonna study that. Okay, I'm gonna study this, right? And you just research, and like, I pulled out my kids' math curriculum, and I was like, I want to get better at math. And so I was like doing it all by myself, and then I'd be like, you guys, did you know this? And so like, I'm teaching them at the same time, and like, we're finding this love of learning, and it's just, so in avoiding the burnout, number one, the expectations, right? Don't expect so much from your kids, but don't expect so much from you. You do not have to replicate the school system. You do not have to sit down for so many hours and, oh, I need to bust out math today, and history today, and English today, and okay, when you're doing math with 6 kids, you can't do math all on the same day. Like, play with it. Do the games, right? We do so many math games. And when they're ready to learn something, they'll learn it. I have 3 kids with dyslexia. And with my first one that had dyslexia, I was like, no, what's wrong? You need to be reading. And I'd push and push and push to read, and it was like not fun. And I was finally like, you know what? When he's ready to read, he'll read. And it turns out there was like this brain disconnect, and part of his brain was like one eye was moving super, super fast and the other was not. And so it was really hard for him to see on a page. And we went to this brain doctor up in Salt Lake, amazing. His name is Dr. Hatch. And like, he helped my boy retrain his brain just by doing like simple exercises. He couldn't do a figure 8 with his left hand. But like, just doing these things helped retrain the wiring. And like, as soon as we figured that out, this boy went from barely being able to read Frog and Toad, to reading Louis L'Amour. And then I was like, I learned so much from that. And so then with my next kid, I was like, you know what, we are just gonna love the books. And I read books out loud. We do lots of audio books, and I have books all over the house, and so they can look at them and just look at the pictures and imagine what it's saying. But because we've got the audio books, or I'm reading, they're catching on to the vocabulary and the concepts and the comprehension and everything. And then when they hit a certain phase, I'm like, okay, let's try it. And we find something that I think they're going to be interested in, and they begin devouring the books. or anyways, like just play with the learning, have fun with it. We don't have to meet these made up expectations that we think we have to meet. Yes, your mom or your sister might be like, oh, homeschooler, you're gonna be behind in this and this and this. Well, yeah, I might be behind in that and that and that, but my kid is rocking in this and this and this, because we have this giant geography map on our table, and every day he's tracing it, and he could tell you where this place is, and it, like, just quit the comparison. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Just have fun with parenting and educating your way. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Can we give our panelists a hand really quick, everyone?